Welcome in, everybody, to the fourth episode of Money Cannons.
Yes, sir. This is week
Um,
4 of college football.
and week 3 of the NFL. Before we get started, as always, we got our record update. Luce, you were 11-8 in college football, 5-4 in the NFL, and I took a bath in both college and the NFL last week, and I am now sitting at 9-13 in college football and 5-5 in the NFL after going 4-1 in the first week of the NFL. But the eternal optimism of the new week is what I'm banking on.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll hop right into it, man.
Let's hop in.
First game on the board, we got Rice.
For an update, I wanted to say that if we followed my bets on the pod and then also the tweet that I put out on Saturday morning, we would have gone positive 5.2 units on the weekend. So that's a good start.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, y'all have to be looking out and follow Loose Bets on Twitter for his best bet of the week.
Yes, sir. You know what? And I'm going to do a better job of actually, I'll put out like a recap post either prior to the games or at some point during the week to go over how everything went.
Awesome. Sounds good. First game on the board, we have the Rice Owls going to West Point playing Army. Army favored -6.5, over under 42.5.
And the reason, so this week I decided to kind of switch up what games we want to look at instead of just going for a lot of the high profile games. Like obviously there's a couple of pretty good games this week. I really wanted to attack some of the games that I feel like have good lines and should provide some value. So that's kind of the approach that we're going to take this week. Looking at this game, I think I'm taking Army at -6.5. That's -105 on the books. Really seems like a low line for me. Rice is not good at all. Army does a lot of ball possession. Should be a pretty easy cover in this one.
Yeah, I mean, these Service Academy games, you always have to take into account the option and just the style of football that they play. And like you said, Rice Owls haven't been impressive thus far.
Good.
No,
not a good football team.
And we were talking about this before the podcast. Talking about betting with your gut versus betting with the model. I'm assuming the model
likes this one big time.
And my gut, which is what I use, also likes Army -6.5.
Army -6.5. I would not be surprised if this is a 3-score game.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I mean, this is a sharp game to pick, and it's easy. It's easy. It should
Army's
be easy.
2-0. Rice is 1-2. I mean,
yeah, and I think
slam
Rice
right here.
Yeah, Rice has played, their normal caliber competition, and they've not fared well. I mean, I just like you said, I don't know why the line is that low, and that's exactly why we're picking this game.
Right.
Army -6.5.
Yep.
I don't think much more needs to be said there.
Not much more.
I mean,
they held Army held Florida Atlantic to 7 points last week. FAU's not a bad team. And that was a home game for FAU. Rice is going on the road. Whew. Going to be a rough day for them.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement on that one. Now heading up to Minnesota, we got Iowa visiting the Golden Gophers.
Yep.
And Iowa coming in favored -2.5, over under at 35.
35. So on this game, the reason I'm picking this game is obviously that score total is very low. Of course, we're looking at a defensive Iowa team and a Minnesota team that tends to play a pretty slow game as well. But really liking the over in this matchup. That's the pick that I'm going to take this week. I was going to take the Minnesota spread, but I like the total just a little bit more. So I'm going with the over 35 in this matchup.
Man, we're betting 2 for 2.
Okay.
As far as the gut versus the model, we're in agreement again.
Yeah.
I didn't want any part of the line
Yeah.
or the spread.
Yeah.
I saw that over under, and to this point in the season, every Iowa total has been over 35.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like. I think people are just going off the last few years of Iowa football, and
historically, this has been a very low scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think these are two somewhat different teams this season. Minnesota's got a good defense. Iowa's got a good defense, but both of them offensively are much better than they traditionally are. Minnesota's been putting up multiple touchdown games. They had a slow start against North Carolina, first game of the season.
Yep.
But first game, and I want to say that was a pretty bad weather game too, so that could have slowed it down some.
Yeah, and also, go ahead. Sorry.
We saw Iowa and Iowa State go down to the wire a couple weeks ago, and then another pretty high-scoring game against Troy last week. I'm seeing this one go over 35 easily, and possibly one team alone could score that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, people looking at Iowa still in that way. I know Minnesota scores pretty low numbers too, but anything over a 17-17 ball game, you're at least getting a push. So yeah. I think that's going to happen. So anything else on that matchup?
Everything, all of my statistics agree. Handle agrees, model agrees. I agree. We should be good there.
Yeah, for sure. Now we have another Service Academy game. We got Memphis heading up to Maryland to play Navy.
Yeah.
And Memphis favored -9.5, over under 50.5.
Not the first game that we've talked about with Memphis this season. I think if there's anybody that's been listening week to week, I'm pretty high on this Memphis team this year. However, this Memphis Navy matchup historically has been a really tough one for Memphis to handle. And I'm really liking Navy at +9.5. I do believe that Memphis walks away with the win this week, but I think that it's going to be a pretty close matchup, if not even come down to, a final drive kind of game.
Yeah. I mean, Memphis, everybody knows now. We were all over that one last week going into Florida State. Yeah. And but to me, I mean, again, it's these Surface Academy games. The option and the style of play just causes the other team to do something they never do. Like, it's something they don't see.
Right.
Especially now that, I mean, it's literally only the Surface Academies like that prominently run the option now that Georgia Tech has gotten away from it. And I'm in agreement. I think Navy keeps it close, but I went with some value here. I'm taking Navy money line because
okay.
I mean, Memphis is going to have, biggest heads they've had in a while, and they have to go on the road, and they have to play a style of play that they don't see but more than once a year.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just going with the value here. I know it might not work out, but we're kind of in agreement about Navy keeping it close, but I think Navy ends up on top.
I I don't see Memphis dropping this game. If there is one that they drop this season, I mean, obviously, I think Tulane is the one that I'm looking forward to as being their potential trip up. But it's not a bad thesis to look at this Navy game. Again, they've struggled with this Navy team in the past.
Hmm.
I I don't see them losing it. I think they've got all the pieces to continue winning this season, but that plus 9.5 looks like a great line.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the smarter pick.
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
obviously
you want to hit a home run or do you want to hit a
yeah.
base hit? And if you're going to take a chance at a home run, that's not a bad one to take this week.
I think it's more the reason I'm taking that approach to it is that I'm very confident in the other games,
Yeah,
and I just want to, like you said, swing for the fences in this one.
right.
But
So, did you get like plus 300 on that one?
let me check real quick. I'm pretty sure it was in between 200 and 300.
Yeah.
But um, let me get to it.
Should be 280 to 290 ish.
It was. It was plus 280.
Okay.
And like I said, swinging for them fences.
All right. Not a bad one.
Um, moving down, we have a ranked matchup between Utah and Oklahoma State
Mm.
in Stillwater. Oklahoma minus 2.5, over under 53.5.
I actually got it at I got just a flat 2.
Okay.
Um, I'm going with Oklahoma State this week. I doubted them a couple weeks ago against Arizona. I feel like I was way wrong. Going into Oklahoma State is a very tough environment to play in. I've never really bought into any Utah team. They are kind of perennially a decent team, but never great. Going to be a tough matchup. I think the size and physicality of Oklahoma State is going to wear them out, and Oklahoma State possibly walks away as a winner, but I'm going to take the plus 2.
Gotcha. So, to me, this is our first true disagreements.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I watched Oklahoma State versus Arkansas. I think
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that was one of the games we had on the board in
Yeah,
week two.
we like Arkansas.
I think I actually ended up betting Oklahoma State minus seven and a
Did you?
half, but that was one of the baddest beats. If you had Arkansas
Oh,
plus
yeah,
7.5
yeah,
of all time,
yes.
it went to overtime. They both missed a field goal in the first overtime. Oklahoma State got the touchdown, got the 2 point, then Arkansas fumbled the damn ball on 4th and 1 or 2, or it either fumbled or just got stopped, and it game over, 39-31.
Mm-hmm.
And I came away from that game not very impressed with Oklahoma State at all.
Yeah.
They let Arkansas run all over them in the first half. I think it was more Arkansas losing that game than Oklahoma State winning it. And I just think Utah has the better coach. I think Kyle Whittingham is a far better coach than Mike Gundy. I don't care what anybody says. So I'm taking Utah again on the money line. I'm
All
staying
right.
away from the number.
Yeah. What's interesting is this game has flip-flopped so much. The movement on this game has been incredibly sensitive. It actually opened at Oklahoma State plus 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
It moved all the way down to Oklahoma State minus 3, moved back up to plus 2.5, And then now we have, shoot, has it moved now since I even took it?
I mean, like you're saying,
Yeah,
it's a
it
very
has. It's moved. I took it this afternoon, and it's already moved to Oklahoma State minus 2.5.
yeah. That's what I saw about an hour ago,
That's
and that's
incredible.
yeah. I mean, like you said, a very volatile line.
I either got really lucky or something because I got Oklahoma State at +2 and minus 115.
You mean -2, or
No, plus.
oh wow,
Yeah, they're getting 2 points. Minus
well,
115. I didn't realize that line was being that sensitive.
I mean, I've never that. I mean, just in a few hours. I mean,
Right.
that's
Yeah, I
that.
haven't seen one move like that. Well, sorry, listeners. Doesn't look like you're going to be able to get it at the same points that I did, but you could probably take the money line either way.
Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't know the line was moving like that,
Yeah,
but
it's wild. I have not seen that.
now I'm glad I took the money line because it's
Yeah.
just. I mean,
Well,
that's
shoot, you could be getting 2.5 points now.
I guess, but like I said, I'm just very
How
very
many how
confident.
many college football games end within 2.5 points? Well, besides that UCF game this last week, but
Not many,
not a whole
but
lot.
I mean that's wild. But you have any more thoughts on that one?
Nope.
Go. All right. Um, final college game just on our board before I get to some that I added to the board. Michigan State at Boston College.
Hmm.
BC. I saw it and bet it at -7, and the over under is 45.5.
So you took BC line, huh?
Yes.
I'm going with the Spartans at +6.5.
There you go. Um,
I don't have a whole lot to say about this matchup, other than I just think it's a favorable spot for Michigan State. Um, Boston College is coming off of a pretty tough loss against Missouri in a game that they probably really, you could say they had a chance to run away with it,
yeah.
but took some bad bounces and lost the momentum, and then it was game over. So, coming off of a tough loss like that, going back home, Michigan State's coming in undefeated. Um, I, if anything, I don't just like Michigan State to cover. I would actually take the money line on this one potentially. I'm not, but it's one of those that I would potentially sprinkle some on the money line.
Gotcha. I just look at it like Boston College held I mean, I would say a much better offense than Michigan State to 27 on the road. And I really believe in Boston College.
Hmm.
I just think the NFL style that they're playing with Bill O'Brien is going to work in a lot of these games against a uh, equal to lesser opponent. It's yet to be seen yet this early in the season, but I especially trust them at home, and that's why I'm taking BC. And like I said, I got it at -7, so risking a push, but I'm pretty confident in that. So another true disagreement.
Hmm.
But you have any more thoughts on that one?
Not that I can really think of. I mean, the game for Michigan State that stands out to me, and the reason that I'm going on their side this week is because they've already walked into Maryland and won a pretty tough game,
Mm-hmm.
and Maryland's not a bad squad at all. Um, you know, we've had Boston College knock off Florida State, lost last week in a close one to Missouri. Their only other game was against Duquesne, which was not noteworthy at all.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like this is a tough spot for Boston College.
I got you. Alrighty. So, in lieu of a Titans, best better two of the week, I'm done with the Titans as far as betting. As far as betting for now,
A couple of
um,
rough weeks.
we'll come back to that if it merits it. If something really jumps out at me, but for this week, I have two in college that I'm very confident in, and the first one being Duke at Middle Tennessee.
Mhm.
Kudos to Middle's athletic director for making that happen. But Duke is only favored minus 14 and a half,
Mhm.
and Middle Tennessee, like the only game they won against Tennessee Tech, and they were losing in the final minute before a touchdown that put them on top. And I just think they are in a transitional year, going from a longtime coach to now Derek Mason, former Vandy coach. They don't have the talent. They had a lot of transfers, and a D1 team going into Murfreesboro is probably going to take over the stadium. I mean, that's just how it is. My brother went there. I know how this goes. Duke minus four. Go ahead.
No, I was laughing.
Oh yeah. Duke minus 14 and a half is one of the easiest bets I've seen this year. And I'm
All right.
putting 2 units on it.
Godspeed, my friend.
You staying away from it?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay away. I don't have enough. I don't have enough data to back my side on that one. I do think that you're on the right side of the game, but just one that I'm gonna stay away from.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the first one I'm very confident in. And this one I found a couple hours ago. And it might change by the time y'all listen to it. But as of right now, Tennessee first half alternate spread minus 6.5. You're getting plus money. It's plus 110, and Tennessee only has to be up by a touchdown at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
2 units easily.
That's an interesting line to me. Usually, the first half line is about halfway between the full game line.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like 60% of the full game line at roughly even odds. So it's interesting to me that you're taking almost the full game line and only getting 110. I would think that should be more like a plus 140 or so.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, and I bet this earlier, that's as high as you could put it for Tennessee in the first half.
Yeah,
Um,
probably on which uh book is that on?
DraftKings,
Yeah.
but
DraftKings has a little bit more limited odds than some of the other book. I mean, it just depends. FanDuel probably has the widest range.
mhm.
Let me see what I can pull up here. I don't know that I can even find alt spreads on the first half. First half. Okay, yeah, I can. I can get the vol all the way to 6.5 at about 110. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I like you said that is strange that it's
Oh,
not
this is weird. The plus, or sorry, the -6 is plus 110. The -6.5 is 105. That makes absolutely no sense.
who knows? It might be because we're in the middle of the week still, but I don't know.
Somebody's drunk.
But
You
I
can
mean,
also get the Sooners at plus 6.5 at 150, minus 150, or plus 5.5 at also minus 150. This is all messed up.
that's why I went ahead and took what I'm very confident in
Yeah.
tonight. And are you going to back me on on that one?
I mean, I like it. I'm not riding it just because I'm still, I the only game that I've bet on the Vols this season was the NC State game.
Hmm.
Um, I I want to take it this week, but I'm still going to stay away. Not because I don't trust them, but I don't even, I don't want to put anything on this game.
Yeah, very high stakes game
I'm
for the
too
Vols.
invested
Yeah, for
emotionally.
me too. But I might as well win some money while I'm on edge.
Right.
But that's it for college, and you will of course have your best bet come
Yeah,
Saturday morning.
I should have a game of the week that I'll tweet out on Saturday morning.
Awesome, sounds good. Any more thoughts on any of these matchups before we move on to the
None
pros?
for me.
Awesome. All right, first NFL game on the board of the five, we have Philadelphia at New Orleans. New Orleans minus 2.5, over under 49.5.
This is the only one that you sent me that I'm going to stay away from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I just was firing from the hip, I would go for the Saints all day. Um, they seem to be the better team. That offense is just absolutely churning. Alvin Kamara is having a great season. Derek Carr is having a good season. Um, I guess they've just got everything going the right way. Meanwhile, Philly with an absolute devastating loss on Monday. You know, if uh, if Brees catches that little rollout for the first down, or even if he just catches it, they probably run enough clock off to
Mm-hmm.
to win that game. Man, but the defense just fell apart. So
Yeah,
obviously, defensively, they look very suspect right now versus probably the best offense currently operating in the NFL. Maybe surprisingly behind maybe Arizona.
yeah,
Um, so if I had to take a side, I'd probably lean the Saints, but I'm staying away from this game.
yeah. I mean, like you said, supremely embarrassing loss for the Eagles. All it would have taken was Saquon to catch that ball, Saquon Barkley to
This is
catch
a
that.
bad play call in my opinion, and everybody's going to say that.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if you take a knee, you probably win the game. But they didn't, and they got what they got. But like you said, New Orleans, two blowouts to start the year, not like no contest, scored in the 40s in both games. I I look at that and I look at Eagles coming off an embarrassing loss, and I'm going with the reverse theory. I'm taking the Eagles plus two
Yeah,
and a half.
the way the NFL's been going this year, that doesn't surprise me at all. And the Saints notoriously seem to have these like high-powered starts, and then the wheels come flying off. So that's what I'm afraid of, and that's what I'm staying away from this game for, is because it's like you're just watching two high-speed trains approaching, and you're just waiting for them to smash.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Eagles looked pretty good on offense. They
Yeah.
controlled the clock, and they did what they had to do to, win the game. Besides, just a silly coaching
It's
decision.
just confounding to me. I mean, you're moving the ball on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
pounding it, pounding it, pounding it. And even their first couple of drives in the game, like Brees was just
Barkley.
getting. Oh yeah, not Brees. Brees is for the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Barkley's getting 6, 7, 8 yards a carry, and he did that for the whole first drive of the game. And then all of a sudden, you decide to hand it off to Gainwell, you know, and he gets stuffed, and you're kicking a field goal. Just weird coaching, terrible decisions. Like you've paid all that money for Saquon. Like, why aren't you using him? I guess you technically were because you did a little rollout screen pass, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, literally, if you
don't
hand him
pass
the
the ball
ball,
in that situation. You don't pass the ball.
yeah, it's silly. If you hand him the ball, he at least, you know,
Clock's still moving, or they have to burn their final timeout. Like,
yeah, it was nonsense. But
it's
I
Butch
think,
Jones' decision.
yeah, I mean, a guy that can't do math, apparently Sirianni can't do math either. So, but I mean, the Eagles were without AJ Brown on Monday night.
Yeah.
He's still doubtful going into this game. I think if they have him, I could become even more confident. But even without him, I think keeping the ball out of the Saints' hands is something the Eagles can do pretty effectively and get some points while they're at it. And that's why I'm confident in Eagles plus 2.5. So,
I didn't look at any of the player props for this game. I could probably potentially take one. I think Kamara's just having a fantastic season. I'd be willing to take probably either his receptions or his touchdown line.
yeah, that would not be a bad bet at all. I mean, he's looked incredible. He's looked like an all pro.
Yeah.
So, any more thoughts on that one?
No, sir.
Cool. All right, now we go to Houston at Minnesota. We have Houston -2 over under 46.5.
I am super high on this Texans team. I mean, CJ Stroud is a phenomenal quarterback. Some of the passes that he made this last weekend against Chicago,
Incredible.
there was one in particular. He was like running for his life and on the move, running to his right, throwing across the body, and he just threw this absolute bullet uh, to Collins. And I mean that guy's level of awareness and talent is incredible right now. I think he's going to do what he has to do to win games. So I'm taking the Texans in this one. Even though the Vikings have looked really good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think people were surprised that they beat the Giants by as much as they did, but then they turn around the next week in week 2 and beat the 49ers, which was even more surprising. I mean, the Vikings have had a great start compared to what their expectations were.
Mm-hmm.
And they're playing at home as a home underdog, but like you, I'm very high on the Texans. I mean, this hurts my soul to say as a Titans fan, but
Yeah, yeah, I bet it does.
it's very hard for me to not think Stroud will run the AFC South for years to come, just based on what everything looks like right now. And like you said, just he can make any throw on the field, and their defense looks good. And I think the Vikings will finally get a dose of reality. And I'm backing the Texans -2 as well.
All right.
So, any more thoughts on that?
Nope.
Cool. Staying in the AFC South, we have the Bears, Chicago Bears, heading to Indianapolis. Indianapolis favored -1.5 over under 43.5.
This was a tough game. Last week Indy went into Green Bay, and I really liked Indy in that matchup, especially with Green Bay starting their backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Indy came out. AR did not have a good game this week or last week. Meanwhile, the Bears look pretty good, but despite all that, I'm taking the Indy money line. I think Indy plays well at home. I think they're going to be motivated to win. I think there's some problems going on in the Chicago sidelines, and I'm liking Indy to win this one.
Gotcha. To me, it's like you said, Chicago looked pretty good on Sunday night playing the Texans. Um, I mean, it was a close game. It came
Mm-hmm.
down to the wire, and like we said, we're both high on the Texans. And Indianapolis sitting at 0-2, they basically have to have this game
Mm-hmm.
to have any type of hope of making the playoffs. But I don't know. I just for some reason don't trust the Colts. I
Yeah.
don't. He Anthony Richardson is too turnover prone. He's too sporadic. When he's good, he's good.
Yeah.
But when he's bad, he is abysmal. And I just don't trust him. And that's why I'm taking the Bears plus 1.5. I mean, I think there's a world where the Colts win 21-20 and we both get it, but I just don't trust the Colts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's I mean, I don't think more needs to be said. I just don't trust the Colts. They didn't do anything in the offseason. They are putting their hopes in this guy at quarterback that we all saw as Tennessee fans, Tennessee Vols fans for 2 years, just be, you know, boom or bust. And I think he'll be bust against a good Chicago secondary. And that's all there is to it. You have any more thoughts on this one?
No, sir.
Awesome. And now for probably what I would say is the game of the week, the most interesting matchup.
Yeah.
Two teams coming off of horrendous, embarrassing losses, with Baltimore heading to Dallas. Baltimore -1, over under 48.5.
Always weird to see home underdogs, especially, for a Cowboys team that has shown a little bit of promise, minus getting just taken to school by the Saints. Baltimore is underperforming badly this season. Just can't seem to get a rhythm when their offense should just be humming,
Yeah.
So kind of like last week in the Patriots game, I'm going to take a little teaser parlay on this one.
Okay.
I'm teasing Dallas all the way up to plus 6.5. I'm going to take that. I'm going to parlay with it, the point total, drop it down to 40.5 and take the over. So that gives us about minus 130 odds. And I like that.
Sounds good to me. I mean, you had success on your teaser last week.
Yeah.
You were spot on last week.
Right. It was close. It was close. I had it at 42.5 and they got it all the way. They got it all the way there.
Yeah. It's a lot of the same story with our last matchup. You have an 0-2 team with their
3.5 is what I had it at. My bad.
You're good. You have an 0-2 team with their backs against the wall, but this time on the road. But like you said, favored on the road. And again, like you said, I mean, how often is a good Cowboys team not favored at home? Doesn't happen a lot, but I just don't see Baltimore starting 0-3. I believe in
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Sorry.
You're good. I believe in John Harbaugh as a coach. I think he's an excellent coach. I think their offensive woes will be a thing of the past. At least
figure it out at some point. I mean, you've got incredible power on that offense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot like the Eagles, they have the running game and the ball control to keep it out of Dak's hands and CeeDee Lamb and company. And I'm very, very confident in Baltimore -1.
All right.
So it's like the last matchup, the Colts have to have it, but I don't believe in them. The Ravens have to have it. I believe in them. That's what it comes down to. So
yeah, I mean, the reason I'm taking the Cowboys side of the teaser is just because I trust them a little bit more at home
Hmm.
to, defend their territory a little bit. I still don't trust them enough to, actually win the game. But again, I could see it either going into overtime and losing by a field goal, or just a kind of end of the game drive falling up short.
Yeah, and it's the Ravens have also been in two close games. I mean, they're as battle tested as they can be. I mean, for a team that's 0-2 through 2 weeks, I mean they were a toe away from tying the game or even winning it against Kansas City in Week 1. Um, and the Raiders, I think, just caught them sleeping, and they
Yeah,
still only lost by a field goal. So
I'm mad
again,
about that one. I'm so mad about that one because
the one,
they should have won. They should have won that game, and all of that was like kind of the sharps game of the week. Was like, oh, take Raiders, and I'm like, man, yeah, I see that the numbers are there, but I just don't trust it. The Ravens are good, I'm telling myself the Ravens are good. The Ravens are good. They've got to at least win the game. And God, uh, Crosby on defense was just all over the place.
yeah, Crosby to me might be the best edge rusher in the NFL at this point.
Yeah.
But any more thoughts on that one?
Nope. Should be a good game.
Yeah, I mean,
Should be. We'll see.
yeah, I think
I don't watch a lot of Cowboys games, to be honest. I just can't get behind them.
hell, they're on TV like every week, no matter where you are in the
Yeah.
country. So,
Yeah.
but like you said, it should be a good game. I think all these games that we put on the board are going to be great games. Um, so yeah, but final one on our board, we have Detroit going to Arizona. Detroit favored -3 over
Oh,
under 51.5.
I even forgot that we had this one on there. These are, I talked about Arizona just earlier. Arizona's offense is just killing it. They finally got Marvin Harrison Jr. involved in the game this last week, and he was an absolute beast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, man, and he was wide open, the previous week, but Murray just didn't find him. Meanwhile, again, Detroit, dropped a pretty bad game at home against the Bucks, where they had 4 or 5 drives in the third and fourth quarter there where they could have really sealed the deal and won the game, and
Yep.
they just could not punch it into the end zone, or had a turnover in the red zone. Their offense is really, they're not quite clicking yet this year. They barely won that game against the Rams.
Yep.
So I'm not taking either side on this game, but I am going to take the over 52, which is a pretty high line. But for, two offenses that seem to be able to score, I like that line.
Yeah, for sure. Not a bad bet at all. I'm, like you said, Arizona has looked great on offense so far. I mean, they were in a shootout with the Bills in week 1, lost that game 34-28, and then last week lined up their shot on the Rams and blew them to hell. I mean, 41-10. I mean, it was not ever close. But to me, the Lions are we talked about it in week 1 of the NFL. They are, I think, the best team in the NFC
Yeah.
North. And I think coming off a loss at home, they realize the importance of this game. And that's why I'm taking the Lions -3. I just think they have something for Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Buccaneers are bad. I
Yeah.
mean,
No, the Bucks aren't bad.
I know obviously they're 2-0, but I think that they can make some noise and compete for a wild card. And suddenly, the NFC South looks like a pretty competitive division. I think people thought the Saints or Bucks would run away with it, but I mean that still might be the case. The Falcons did get lucky, but I think it's going to come down to the wire in that division. It normally does, but again, Bucks aren't a bad team, and
stupid Kirk Cousins, man, I can't stand that guy.
You got beef with Kirk?
I just he's not good. He's so not good, and I mean, well, it's interesting. I listened to a interview that Tom Brady did a while ago, and he talked about the start of his career and the start of all the QB's careers, back when he was a young guy in the league, and how they all got a chance to kind of learn and grow and settle in before they just got thrown into the fire. And that's not how it is now. So I can see the reasoning behind, Penix not being the starter and getting Cousins in there. Cousins has been in the league for plenty of time. But I think Penix is by far the better talent and is going to open up the field way more for that Falcons team. This season has been really interesting in the NFL, whereas last season, kind of the two-way versatile halfbacks kind of ceased to exist, like James Conner, Alvin Kamara, guys like that who are great receiving backs as well. They didn't really get that same level of production last year. And it seems that, the offensive coordinators have kind of returned to that model of utilizing the back more in the passing game as well. So that's been interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean,
on another one that is great at that.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting just the way the offense in NFL just changes from year to year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always something new going on, but
or lack of offense if you're in Carolina.
I don't know if I've ever seen a worse.
It's bad.
I mean, have you ever seen a worse number one overall quarterback?
There's so much talk about it being a systemic problem and not a Bryce Young problem, because Baker was there before and now all of a sudden Baker's succeeding. And, Sam Darnold was also there and now Sam Darnold is just thriving as well. So you have to wonder if maybe there is something more going on there. Even, I mean, the Titans are having a little bit of an issue with that. Look at the guys that have come through and played QB there, and you wonder, could they have had success elsewhere? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the main example for the Titans is Marcus, but he hasn't done much elsewhere either.
Right. But he spent so much of his career and had some injuries and whatnot in Tennessee that, maybe that resulted in his down the road abilities.
Yeah, for sure. But that's all the games we are going to bet this week. I have 12 bets total already on the books.
Right now, at least. I'll post one on Saturday.
Yeah.
I plan to.
Absolutely.
If it's there. I'm not going to force it.
That's completely fair. That's not smart betting. Never force it.
Yeah.
But I have 7 for college, 5 for the NFL. We're going to get back to 500, baby. We are going to get there. And in college, we are sitting at 500. I am.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling a good week. Back in both service academies. God bless America. I'm ready to cash out.
Yeah.
You got anything else tonight?
Nope. Let's have a good week.
Absolutely. And as always, load the money cannons responsibly.
Just responsibly.